Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, your service is no longer needed, and you are now discharged.
She'd hanged herself. I'd brought her a dress to wear to court, and she'd used the belt. At first, I thought that she'd figured out somehow how I fit into it, and couldn't stand it. Couldn't stand knowing. That wasn't it. I'd find out later. For now, everything just seemed ruined.
Check it out.
Freddie Riedenschneider went back to Sacramento, still shaking his head, saying it was the biggest disappointment of his professional career. Frankie fell to pieces. I suspect he was drinking. Anyway, he stopped coming into work. That left me to keep the place going, or the bank would have taken it.
Get him off the road, right? He keeps snapping at you.
I was the principal barber now.
Not ungrateful.
I hired a new man for the second chair.
It runs right over the turtle.
I'd hired the guy who did the least gabbing when he came in for an interview. But I guess the new man had only kept quiet because he was nervous. Once he had the job, he talked from the minute I opened the shop in the morning until I locked up at night.
Piece of corn to a string, right? And he would wait for the chicken to eat it.
For all I know, he talked to himself on the way home.
That string out, the chicken would follow.
When I walked home, it seemed like everyone avoided looking at me, as if I'd caught some disease. This thing with Doris, nobody wanted to talk about it. It was like I was a ghost walking down the street. And when I got home now, the place felt empty. I sat in the house, but there was nobody there. I was a ghost. I didn't see anyone. No one saw me. I was the barber.
I got a couple of eggs over hard because I don't like it when they run all over the plate, and some bacon and potatoes, which are supposed to come with it. And so I pay for it, and I put the change in my pocket without really looking, because gosh, I mean, who looks at the change when you eat there every day? So 2 blocks later, I look at the change she gave me, and golly, I'm 2 bits short.
2 bits short.
So I walk back over to Linton's, find this gal. Big argument. She doesn't even recall the transaction.
No recollection.
Doesn't recall the transaction, no recollection. So I said, look, dear, go ahead, look at the menu. If you're in before 6 o'clock, it's the whatchamacallit,
The early bird special.
Yeah, the early riser.
Crane.
I'm Crane.
My name's Diedrichson, county medical examiner.
Yeah.
I just came by for an informal chat. Why don't I buy you a drink?
Rye. It's coffee.
You sure you don't want something stiffer?
Coffee it is.
County ME does an autopsy on anyone who dies in custody. I don't know if you knew that. It's routine. Doesn't become a matter of public record unless there's been foul play. However, I don't think I'm prohibited from telling you this. Of course, I'm not obliged to either. I just don't know. But if I were the man, I'd want to be told.
Told what?
I'm not here to add to your... Thanks. Your wife was pregnant. First trimester. There it is. I'm sorry. hope I've done the right thing.
My wife and I had not performed the sex act in many years.
Well, that's really none of my business. I'm sorry. There it is. Good luck, Crane.
Doris and I had never really talked much. I don't think that's a bad thing necessarily, but it was funny. Now I wanted to talk. Now with everyone gone, I was alone with secrets I didn't want and no one to tell them to anyway. I went to see a woman who was supposed to have powers in communicating with those who had passed across, as she called it. She said that people who had passed across were picky about who they'd communicate with, not like most people you run into on this side. So you needed a guide, someone with a gift for talking to souls.
Give me your hand.
Well, first she told me that my wife was in a peaceful place, that our souls were still connected, that she'd never stopped loving me, even though she'd done some things she wasn't proud of. Man, she was reading me like a book. She was a phony, just another gabber. I was turning into Ann Nerdlinger, Big Dave's wife. I had to turn my back on the old lady, on the veils, on the ghosts, on the dead, before they all sucked